Welcome, 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 yet again to the this week's episode of Market Update with Chris and Tim.
Yes, yes. I am here today with Chris Hill. And about 2 weeks ago, he asked me questions regarding VA home loans. So today I said, you know what, Chris, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And in today's market, with houses sitting a little bit longer, you have buyers being in a position where they have a little bit more buying power. How do you deal with a buyer when it comes to the inspection process? So, Chris, we're going to go ahead and set the scene a little bit because I want you to give me a step by step play on how you interact with a client when that inspection comes up. So, we just got under contract, the client sent their earnest money deposit, the inspection's done. You get the inspection in the email along with them being CC'd on the email. What's the next step?
So let's even step back a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay.
All
So
right.
you and I talked about this a little bit, and we knew what we were going to talk about. And the conversation came up that how do you deal with an inspection that, let's just say, it's not glamorous,
Right.
right? It's not the ideal scenario, and there's so many stages of how you deal with it. You deal with not only with your client and their concerns and what they need to do, and they're also their ability or not ability to deal with those situations as they come along, right? Like that's
Right.
important. And there's also the financing piece, right? Like how does it affect your financing? We'll talk about that some too.
Correct.
You know, some of these sometimes repairs, you get to that point and you're like, oh, this is not going to work, right?
All right. Well, help me understand just your thought process because you're getting in real time information. Are you there for the inspection?
Yeah, I do go to my home inspections for my team for my clients. I think it's important for us to be there to understand what they're hearing from the home inspector.
Got you.
And that's also been building a good rapport with the home inspectors that you like to work with, even though we don't choose, the buyer does, right? But we'll have having that rapport with the home inspector where you can say, hey, explain that a little better sometimes, especially first time home buyers, right? Somebody who maybe doesn't have the knowledge. Sometimes first time home buyers do, but let's just say they don't in this case, right? They don't have the knowledge or the construction experience or understand. You know, my history was I was in the home building field before this, so I kind of feel like I kind of know how sometimes things are fixed or can be repaired, right?
Right.
More so than the average Joe, I guess, right? And so, the first thing I do is I let's prepare the client for the inspection first. Let's start from the very beginning, right?
Gotcha.
Now I'm getting fired up.
Yeah, there you go.
So having the conversation with the client, preparing them for that home inspection is probably the most important step you can possibly do. And in doing that, you have to understand the drive of your client, right? What is it that they want? What is it they're looking for? And also setting the expectation that, like, look, hey, we don't look for cosmetic items on a home inspection. Cosmetic items are really not part of this home inspection. We're looking for, I always say, we're looking for things that are broken or not functioning as intended. Those are the the two words that I use.
Mhm.
Doesn't always work that way because sometimes it's broken and not working as intended. But the reason I say that is because you could have a perfectly good furnace that works great and maybe it's skipping a cycle. Just needs something set. It's a
Right.
setting fix, easy,
Right.
right?
Right.
Nothing wrong with the unit necessarily, just needs a little repair,
Mhm.
right? And and then the question is, what's the level of ability of your client to take care of those things on their own, right? Are they, does the client work for a heating and air conditioning company and the heating and air is going out on this house, right?
Correct.
Right. So what's important to them is the number one thing that we ask. So when you have that conversation with them before the inspection, we're looking for looking for things that are broken or not functioning as intended. And sometimes when we walk through the house, actually, I would ask the other agents and comment below if you've encountered this. Like, you go into the house and you see something that's obviously going to be a problem,
Mhm.
right? It's going to be a problem for your client. It's going to be a problem for whatever it may be. A great example is I went into a house this past week, and we went through the house, and I noticed a couple of things that were a little quirky on the heating and air. And we get in the garage, and then there's like this old oil furnace, like almost like older than the house oil
Yeah,
furnace, right?
yeah.
Like I can tell it's like 1962. The house is 1980s. So I'm like, this is weird, right? Upon further investigation, the previous tenant
Mhm.
used the garage as a workshop, and it's just a little unit just to heat the garage.
Got you.
But it was freestanding. But I didn't know. I didn't see any ductwork or
Yeah.
anything. You couldn't
Yeah.
see how it was
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we're going to need a new heating and air conditioning system.
Yeah.
Ends up it's fine,
Yeah.
right?
No,
You know,
that's something that I try to educate my buyers when going through the home inspection and say, hey, listen, you're not the expert, right?
right, right.
Let's not make an anthill into
That's
a
it.
mountain. Let's get the information in real time. So, okay, so you're prepping the client, telling them, hey, let's look for things that are broken, not able to operate. Is the inspections personality a big, how could I say, something that you look forward to when you pick
You
an
know about the
inspector?
inspector?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Okay.
100%. And
100%.
I think you guys, other agents will agree. Like having a home inspector that you work with,
Mhm.
and again, we don't make that decision, but putting 2 or 3 of them in front of the client
Mhm.
that you are familiar with and you know their style.
Mhm. Exactly.
Like that's a
Their
key. It
personality.
really is. It's a personality thing
Yeah.
because you can have somebody come in, and I have been known to preface the client on the personality of the home inspector.
Mhm.
For example, I've said to a client, this inspector on every house is going to point out this item, and you're going to see it on your home inspection, no matter what. I've done 100 of them with him, and 100 of them have this on the report, right? And sure enough, when it comes on the report, they're not shocked. They're
Gotcha.
not surprised.
Gotcha.
They're prepared for it. They're mentally prepared for it, right? And you're absolutely right. Home inspectors, they have a challenge too, and to look in their eyes a little bit and understand what they're going through. These guys and ladies are going through. They're doing an inspection for somebody, and they're critiquing this home that this buyer is counting on them to uncover something that's major, that's a problem, right? Counting on them to see it. If they don't see it, they're letting them down.
Yeah.
Right, being real.
Yeah.
Right,
No, that
but they're
is.
trained to do that.
Yes.
So having a good quality home inspector that can communicate well with your clients, huge. That's really big. And as I mentioned before, communicating with that client so they understand that one of my sayings is, and I don't say it really to my clients, is everything can be fixed.
Gotcha.
Everything.
Right.
You can tear a house down and put it back up.
Right.
Okay, I remember these from the building days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This is also just a great way to look at it from a perspective of we can negotiate. That's the idea.
Everything.
Everything is negotiable.
Everything. And look, and I tell my clients also, look, if this is something you truly are uncomfortable with, then are you comfortable enough asking for it to be repaired or not?
Mhm.
If you're not, then we move on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, sorry, let's be real.
Yeah.
And then there's been cases where I explain that in the feedback too. Like, I didn't like was really nervous about this issue in the house, and
Mhm.
they decided to move on.
Right.
The agent's on the phone with me the next morning or right away, like, hey, what if we fixed it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a conversation we have to have with our clients.
Right. Right. So when you okay, so we got an inspector that we has a good personality. He is educating the client as he's doing the walkthrough. And then, like I said, we get the inspection now in the email. What's the next step for you? Assuming that, let's just say you have 2 minor and 2 major. Do you go over the inspection first and then reach out to the client? Do you want to read it with the client together? Is there a certain, I guess you could say, like script that you have where you say, okay, great, I have a contractor that can fix this easily, or we can get maybe $5,000 in seller help? Are you already kind of figuring that
Yeah.
out as you look at the inspection report?
Actually, when we're sitting in there, when we're in the house talking, well, the home inspection's going on, I'm having conversations with my client to understand better what it is, what it is that's concerning them.
Mhm.
And if there's something that we already know early on in the inspection, I've been known to, call the other agent and say, hey, look, this is going to be an issue, and prepare the other agent as well
Mhm.
for the conversation
Got
that,
you.
hey, we're going to have an issue. Let's work together to get it resolved if we can,
Mhm.
right? And hopefully, maybe there's been instances where the listing agent says, yeah, we knew.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for somebody to do the home inspection, pull it up, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. But
Yeah.
okay, but you could have saved us a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If
yeah.
we
Well,
did it.
I'm just curious. Do you ever see that where someone does a pre-inspection to kind of like? Because don't get me wrong, I've always heard of buyers that put an offer in and then they have the inspection on hand.
Yeah.
Compared to
When they have a
a seller
pre-inspection.
having an inspection done already.
You know what?
It just doesn't seem that.
It was a thing years ago.
Okay.
It's not as I'm not seeing it as much right now,
Okay.
but makes a lot of sense.
It does.
You
It
know,
makes
with a
all the
shifting
sense in the
market
world.
because you can
Yeah.
have the home inspection. Here's the problem in the past when that happened is inspectors spot different things,
Right.
right? So if you, as a seller, you hire a home inspection, now, keep in mind you're going to get most of it covered and most of it, repaired.
Mhm.
But then when this new inspector comes in and finds something that the other inspector didn't see,
Mhm.
right now you got like, well, my inspector said, and my inspector said, you know what I mean? And nobody
Yeah.
wants to get into that
No one wants to
mess.
get into that at all.
Yeah.
But I will say, preparing someone or preparing the seller for possible problems, I think is my thought process,
Yeah,
even
right.
if it's not your own actual inspection. But I will say, okay, that's great. So then you're starting the dialogue with the seller, or excuse me, help me understand the conversation with the inspection. That's what I want to know. They got the full inspection
Yeah.
report now. It's this 15-page document. There, at this point, people are now uploading it to AI
Yeah.
and ChatGPT. How do you then go over it? Do you share your screen? Do you just pick out the major problems? Do you wait for them to respond? How do you
So
then?
there's a couple things. First is depending on, I like to be there for the summary when the inspector's there. The inspector goes through and summarizes usually the inspection items that are going to
Correct.
be included. This is what's going to be in your report, blah blah blah, right? And so I tell my client when when we receive that, I get a copy as well as you.
Mhm,
I'm going to take the time to review that report before I call you,
mhm.
and we're going to have a conversation about the things that we see. And I'm going to tell you these are the things that I see that are common and things that we ask for, we don't. And I don't tell them they have to choose those, right? Let's be clear, but I point them out to them the things that are pretty customary or sometimes not. And if one of the things that it kind of prepares them for, I mentally go through and say, so right now I see A, B, C. What do you see?
Got you.
And there's some magic in that, by the way.
Right.
There's a little bit of magic in those words. It's like right now I see this item, this item, this item. What do you see?
Mhm,
Right? And then they go, we agree, or
mhm.
what about the electric panel? Oh, you're right. I forgot about the electric panel. And so when we go to review those items later that day or the next morning to prepare the list,
Mhm.
we're going through those items and I'm like, hey, I didn't forget to, that. It saves me time too, because then I can literally take that report, go into the office, start preparing my property inspection notice
Right.
addendum, and prepare that and get it ready for them with some wait for the phone call,
Mhm.
obviously, and then we add or subtract. And I say, these are the things I've added. How do you like the verbiage? Would you like to add anything? How would you like that to be? Um, any verbiage we take from the client first because that's important.
Gotcha.
We want to know that they're asking for what they want, not what I want.
Right. But the ABC thing I think is great because
Yeah.
it sets the tone of what the professional sees. And then from there, they can kind of piggyback or agree with you. But I think it sets the stage of what you see
Yeah.
and then what you think is of concern because now it's like, okay, great. Well, where'd you come up with that, Chris? And then from there, you educate them on why you think it is because either it may be an easy fix, it may be someone that can do a fix quickly.
Yeah.
Like how to, you're pointing those out and then having the ability to have dialogue with them once you point it out and of course get their information, but the reality is that they're going to look for you for guidance.
Well, it's funny because I've also been known when that interim time from the time I met with them for the home inspection and getting the inspection report back, I will have called contractors, listing agents, contractors that, especially if there's items I'm not sure about.
Right.
I might call the electrician and be like, hey, tell me, can you do this? Is that something? And I know you don't want to tell me how much, about how much is it going to cost,
Exactly.
right? And then that's a conversation I can have with them when we talk, right?
So you are reaching out to contractors
for
ahead of
sure,
time
for
just to
sure.
kind of give them an
Mhm.
idea of what the cost would be. That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, because unfortunately, there's no exact science, and no two houses are exactly the same, right? So
Mhm.
you're gonna have, I told you we had a home inspection from, from hell.
Yeah, from Hades.
Yeah, we had a really tough home
Mhm.
inspection recently, but my client's super reasonable, super trusting in me,
Mhm.
right? And that's important too. And we're working through it, right? And it's a conversation. It was just a matter of working through the issues with the inspection.
Got you. Got you. And with this particular client that you're working through with the inspection, do you kind of label it and say, you know what, this person's been looking for 5 months. This is the perfect home for them.
Yeah.
Let me try to get this worked out. Or is it more of like, hey, there's a house down the street about to be coming soon. So how do you kind of like, is there a certain, like, I guess, because, from my experience sometime with buyers, they'll be very picky. But when I do that 6 month follow up to ask them how's everything doing, they love their house. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's something like you don't really know what you have until you actually have it, and
And
you're
you're
like,
in it.
and it
Yeah.
exactly. And then next thing you know, they're like, Timmy, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So how do you kind of gauge that decision making on whether you want to push forward and say, hey, this is a great opportunity, or B, you know what, let me fall back and just try to find another
So,
house.
again, I've always said I should have been a sociologist before I was a real estate agent. I mean,
Right.
you're reading people and you're understanding what they do, right? And every agent should be the same way. I think it's the same thing. When you go in, you know whether your client
Can handle it or not.
loves it, hates it, and if they love it, they may be willing to deal with more problems than they would if they thought it was just okay.
Got you.
You know what I mean? So having that conversation with them and knowing what they love, eh, and also there's those other clients, and again that sociology part. There are those that are about the money, right, and about the dollars and cents of it all.
Mm.
And you can say, hey, look, yeah, you're getting this house for $350, right? You do these repairs, it's a $450,000 house. Okay? You're going to put $50,000 in, and you're going to make $50,000 more. Is that something you want to do? Right? It's the conversations that you all have to have. So, but it all boils down to the person.
Got you. What they want. What's
Right?
their initial
What's their why? What are they true? And if it's a first time home buyer, maybe they're not so concerned about that. They're going to live there 10 years and
be done
let be done with it. Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's, again, it's understanding your client, knowing them, and communicating with them. Right? Like I get grief because I'm a little too blunt sometimes with people.
Yeah.
Right. But the truth is, sometimes they need it.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah, no, because I think people want the information. How you package it
That's it.
is half the battle. But I will also say the social skills to get to that point, to educate somebody at this pivotal point. Because let me be honest with you, man, like after the inspection, it's all on me as the lender.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean?
I tell them that too.
I mean, like after the inspection, like it's
Hey,
all on
it's
me.
all on the lender
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
We've done our part.
Yeah, appraisal, financing,
You know.
the whole nine. All right, well that's great, man. So you get through the inspection report, you figure out exactly what their needs and wants are
Yeah.
as you move forward, and then from there you negotiate with the seller in order to get what you're looking for, whether it's seller help, whether it's actual repairs
Yeah.
done. So you get the repairs done. Most people will say, "Hey, get a copy of the receipt of the repairs." Is that something that
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
advise?
you do for sure.
Okay, so
sure.
is there ever been a situation where maybe someone gave you a receipt and the repair was completely
Absolutely.
okay? So how have you?
So
been-
there's a couple different ways you can handle that. If you know that something's fishy,
okay,
right? Smells like fish,
yeah,
probably fishy.
yeah,
Then you can also have the home inspector go back and re-inspect it. That's
Okay.
something that you can recommend to your clients.
okay,
Have them go out and inspect the repairs.
Got you.
I've known people that have done that.
That's great.
I've done it before too. But you know what? Everybody handles that a little bit differently. So, this is our job, right? Like,
Okay.
so if you put in the comments how you would handle that, right? Like,
Yes.
if you received a receipt, say, that says the work was done, and you're not so confident, what do you do?
Right.
Tell me. I would send the home inspector back, I think.
Okay, no, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've came across someone telling me they had receipts and the work wasn't
Yeah.
actually done yet, and I was like, damn, like excuse my language. I was like, that's fraud
Yeah.
in a way, right?
It is, yeah.
So, but how do you protect yourself from knowing someone's doing that? And that's something that the second inspection, I've never heard of anyone doing it. That's Jim of the
You know
week
what?
in my
And
eyes.
inspectors will also do like. Look, I'm going to tell you. I was a home builder for many years, actually.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you, home inspectors would come in to do a home inspection during framing and those sorts of things, and they would find stuff.
Yeah,
So I do recommend a home inspection on any type of property because, especially, things get missed.
Right.
It's just human nature when you have, even with robots, things get missed. Even with AI.
yeah, no,
Right, you know what I
agree.
mean? Like,
Yeah, listen,
I had AI adjust a picture for me the other day, and of a house, and I looked at it. I wanted to make it brighter,
Yeah.
And I looked at all I wanted to do was make it brighter,
yeah.
and they took out 2 windows.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a different house. What are you doing to me?
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Now, just curious, if you are negotiating with an inspector, just so you're not paying $700 for another inspection, Is that to say, hey,
some of them charge fees to have you come back out.
okay,
But it's not another $700, right? If
Gotcha.
they're coming to check in, and my experience has been most of them are very reasonable on coming back.
got you.
As long as you say, hey, look, we really just want to see if this
Roof has
has been fixed, or whether the
Gotcha.
plumbing pipe was attached the way it
Gotcha.
should be.
No, that's great. That's great.
Those are important things, but I think we can also deal with inspections again at another conversation. Maybe bring a couple of home inspectors in and have them talk with us.
I
Right?
think that would be
I think
ideal.
it's a
That would
great
be
idea,
definitely ideal.
and have them come in, sit in their studio, and have the conversation.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what inspector would talk about AI, because people are uploading
Yeah.
their reports into AI,
Yeah.
and then AI is giving them contracting costs,
Everything.
everything. So it's just
Yeah.
one of those things where you want to be ahead of the curve. But I think, like you said, if we have an actual real inspector come in and kind of talk about what he's seeing compared to what the AI report's doing,
Yeah.
I think then that will kind of help people, the realtors, understand, hey, listen, please don't utilize AI as a way for you
Yeah.
to get quotes
Yeah.
when we can, here's an example of why an inspector disagrees with that.
One thing I would close out with, because we're getting long in the
there. All right.
getting long in the wind there. But what I was going to say is, I think one of the most important things we do, besides communicating with our clients, is also the relationship with the other agent on the other end,
Mhm.
right? And communicating with the agent on the other end, what's happening, and have them communicate with you, right? And the agent say, my clients they're not going to want to do that.
Right.
Okay, well, let's see what are they going to do, right? And
Right.
it kind of helps soften the blow when you're dealing with your client on the other end,
Right.
and also understanding that this is a deal breaker for them,
Right.
This item's a deal breaker, this one's not,
Right.
And I don't tell the agent that,
Right.
but letting them know, hey, look, that's great, they're going to take care of that item. That item was a deal breaker.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because no matter how much you may have an inspection in front of someone's face to say, you guys need to fix this, you need to
Yeah.
fix this, there's still that conversation that has to happen
That's it.
with the listing agent, so that you guys are on the same page to a certain degree. Because, like, as just someone who's factual and logical and works with numbers, my whole thought process is, man, if you got a full inspection report saying everything,
Yeah.
like, that's all you need at
Right.
this point. It's like, that's all the negotiation that has to be done, but it doesn't work like that.
No, and also the other thing is, you just reminded me, like, see, we could talk about something, so we can be around, but we're not going to do that to you, I promise. I could,
Right.
but no, there's the appraisal items. Sometimes you're in a home inspection and you
Mhm.
go, ooh, the appraiser is going to call that out, right?
Right.
Especially if it's a VA loan or
Right,
something like
yeah,
that. They have different
FHA,
FHA,
government,
right?
yeah.
And you're going like, this is going to be a problem for. So knowing that is also part of the battle too, and
Mhm.
being able to explain it to the listing agent. Hey, look, we're asking for this chip paint on the shed because I know I just had a house that the VA appraiser called us out on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're helping
But
them out. Just
anyway.
make the transaction easier.
Yeah. So, well, with that,
Yeah.
let's our episode on home inspection.
Home
from
inspections.
hell.
Yeah. But I will say, guys, I think if I'm going to take away anything, it's about the repair process and making sure that your client knows that they have the ability to get a second inspection after the repairs are done, so that now they have the peace of mind knowing that the work was done correctly.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah,
So,
that's a gem.
all right. With that, everybody, we will see you next week. And don't forget to subscribe and like.
Yes, don't forget to subscribe and like.
See you guys.